Therefore, you don't have to guess at the end of an American movie. You know the ending. Superman lives.
Right, exactly. And so, right, the sense of seeking self-fulfillment as the ultimate aim, and as the and this kind of in the face of of evil, turning away and clearing a space for. So what I would say is, though, that may kind of, I think that creates a kind of interesting, I don't know if it's a tension or if it's an interesting elaboration of the overall metaphysics, which involves a kind of a progressive view of history. So there's a sense in which your work is the part of a particular moment. Now, do you see it ultimately as being superseded, or do you think that you've reached an absolute moment where there's no more going to be progress?
Good question. Okay. Well, you mean progress of humanity?
No, of our understanding.
Okay.
Of our understanding.
I think the level of understanding is linked to our level of consciousness. In other words, at our current relative state of consciousness, I believe this is pretty much the best we can do. Okay? At the level of consciousness of 1250 BCE, Matan Torah, okay? And don't excommunicate me right now, wait a day or two. That was a level of consciousness of that time, that was the best that could be done then. But 1,000 years from now, the level of consciousness will allow the metaphysics writers to take it a step further. Now, this is not a minor matter, quest for potential, that I would go for my potential. I try to get my kid into NYU Stern School Business. It's much grander than that. The fuel of a car, let's say, is petroleum. The fuel of a human might be food, might be blood, might be emotional fulfillment. But what's the fuel of the cosmos? And I believe that the fuel of the cosmos is this grander, overarching potential. That's what makes it roll. That's what allowed it to escape from the void. So on so many levels, it's the potential for butterflies. The world could live without butterflies, but potential for extraordinariation of butterflies, of beautiful sunsets, the potential for intellectuality, science, truth, art, music, education, chinuch, teaching the children, good deeds, masim tovim. All these interrelated potentials, in my humble proposition, my non-humble proposition, are the fuel of the cosmos. And I've been thinking about this problem since when? Since I was 7. Because when I was about 7, it was 1957, my father's family had escaped Berlin, 1938, pre-Holocaust. But around 1957, even though it was about 12 years later, lots more of the atrocity stories were coming out, 12 years later. And frankly, I was subjected to, incorrectly, to all this intense information. And being a good 7-year-old, I said to myself 2 questions: where was God and where was man? And I was a good boy at, minor Orthodox Yeshiva, Dov Revel of Forest Hills. And I hear all the talk, and I hear the talk in shul, and I hear the talk at the Shabbos table, and everyone's serious, everyone's sincere. Clearly no one has a clue. No one doesn't have a clue. There's not even a havamina. There's not even the beginning of an answer. So you say, well, maybe Rabbi Luban in Forest Hills doesn't have an answer. Maybe my father, Andrew Jack Birnbaum, who was expelled from high school as a Nazi, he doesn't have an answer. Maybe my slightly abusive 2nd grade teacher doesn't have an answer. But certainly out there must be an answer. Then I go on, and I go to one academic institution after the other. I'm reading the magazines, I'm looking at tradition, commentary, midstream. I'm going to lectures. Nothing doing, nothing happening. I end up in Boston, in the Harvard University campus. I go to Harvard Hillel to hear the lectures. The top guns are at the lectures Friday night. One is more inspiring than the next, but no one has a clue. Still no one has a clue. As we both know, at some point you say to yourself, well, maybe I should do this myself. And so was my working proposition, actually, I'd say roughly from age 10, 11, that if there was an answer, it was probably relatively simple, but sort of at the tip of our nose type of situation. that it's sort of there, but we don't see it. It's too close at hand. But I also suspected, and maybe this is a self-fulfilling prophecy, that Judaism, as we knew it, might or might not survive this metaphysics. I suspected it might be a close call. And it turns out it's a close call. But it turns out it weighs towards that it does survive with quite vibrant vitality. In fact, I believe it's strengthened by the metaphysics. And the question, that's a parallel question, what's the common denominator of the universe, of the cosmos? Is there a common denominator? And you, in the lion, trying to go after the gazelle, in the neutron and the proton, is there a common denominator? And surveying the scene, again, a common denominator which I find, which I discern, is this quest for potential. And quest for potential can mean different things to different people. And it's evolving, even in my own mind, exactly what it means. Obviously, if it's an infinitely powerful dynamic, it's hard to get your arms around it. That's why I use the chapter 120 guardian angels to try to get my arms around it. In fact, it took me 15 years to write book 2, to start book 2, until it came up with the theme of 120 guardian angels. It was the only way I could possibly start to get my arms around it. Now,
I want to put one little point about it.
Right.
But if you don't, you say, what's the common thing that unites the gazelle and me? Well, you know what? Actually, you've gone back. We're talking about the overcoming of metaphysics, but really, you've gone back to Aristotle. That's Aristotle's point. Aristotle's point is that we are all striving to fulfill our ultimate goal.
That's fine.
Right? Our ultimate potential.
To whatever extent Mr. Aristotle and I are in agreement, that's fine by me. But I believe his metaphysics fails, fundamentally fails. With all due respect to his illustrious legacy.
I think there is another sort of issue here, and it still sort of revolves around this question, again, of the definition of this thing that you're calling potential.
Quest for potential, right.
But the quest for potential assumes that there's all these potential things that can be fulfilled. Right. And I would say, by the way, when you're talking about a person, self-actualization or something doesn't mean for you, how I can go to the latest, Club Med or something like that. This is where we're talking about serious, valuable goals that human beings and that culture and even the animal kingdom and the physical world can try to somehow aspire to in some kind of way So the point that I'm making is that this thing that you define as what is like in everything, because you have a sort of, as we call, panentheistic view of God.
Exactly.
So now, this thing which is the potential, the problem is that actually it's the actual and not the potential. The reason being is this is just a typical kind of, again, theological/philosophical way of looking at it. But if this table, because of its sanctified use, is in a certain way currently now, as Hasidism would say, some form of expression of the divine, right? Because we don't mean really God in this table, but we know what we mean in this thought now. If that's true, right, then the thing has been actualized. Because we took a table which was potentially divine, and we made it divine by using it for a divine purpose. Now I realize what I'm using this Hasidic terminology.
I'm referring to animate objects.
No, but the point is, if it's God, and if that force is the force that does all of these things that we're talking about,
right.
And if it's the thing that creates the potential for me, then actually it's actual and not potential.
It's both.
It is actual.
It's both.
Right.
It's both.
So therefore,
both,
right? Well, everything is both in a certain sense.
Right. Everything is both.
So that's a very important thing to realize.
Right.
That now, the second point that I want to make about this is that it's interesting that in the classic discussions of evil, for example, there's this great passage in Maimonides when he goes through the book of Job, and after he's finished going through the book of Job, he says, this is what God says. He's talking about Job, and he says, but I say, and the reader at first is really shocked until the reader realizes that no, it's because the author of Job made up God's point of view. Therefore, Maimonides is disagreeing with the author of Job. He's not disagreeing with God. It's not like God really said it. Okay. And the author said it.
Fair enough.
Okay, ready? Now, so he comes on and says, but I say. Now, the point when he says that evil is the absence of good. Now, the problem with this theory is it always leads to the question, okay, why do we have to have a world in which good can be absent? Now, in other words, the problem of all these theories that precede you is that you can always ask the antecedent question. And when you answer the antecedent question, there's no answer. Like I remember the story I was once walking.
Right, so you're right.
So now, so the question that comes with you is whether there are antecedent, unanswerable questions about why, if we want to create, or I don't know if want is the right word, but if somehow the potential thing is going to lead to the development of a universe and a world and also humans, etc., who are going to quest for potential.
Right.
So we say by definition, and this is mostly in Divine One, by definition, that requires there be freedom.
Right.
Okay. Now, that itself is an a priori assumption, which is true within our universe. But like, we have a friend who does math, with different planes and all that kind of thing. The imagined universe, I can imagine a universe in which that isn't true.
We're dealing with our universe. I said it's hard enough to deal with our universe. Wait, deal with our universe. In our universe, working assumption of the metaphysics is that freedom is necessary for potential. Does that address your point?
Oh, I agree with you 100%, but the problem I have is, since I could imagine, if you are this whatever we call it, divine potential, which is going to actualize a world, you could actualize any world you want. Like the Midrash says that God created these ones and he got rid of them because they weren't any good. So the point of the matter is, you could actualize a different world.
Okay, stop. Okay, I mean, with your permission. Right. A cosmos is not so simple to create.
Not for us.
It's not so simple. Even for Quest for Potential, even for the God of Israel. It's easier said than done. And it's my working assumption that this is the best Quest for Potential / God of Israel could do. Yes, ideally, we'd have a cosmos without evil. But that might not have had the traction. That type of underlying architecture wouldn't have had apparently would not have had the traction to escape from the void and to be ongoing almost as a perpetual motion entity, ongoing for billions and trillions of years. So,
but that's an a priori assumption.
Yes, it's written in the book.
But the reason for the a priori assumption is because you're trying to explain this world, which is a legitimate activity.
Right.
You're in this world. You want to explain this world.
I'm in this universe.
Yeah.
I'm trying to explain this cosmos.
Right. But if everything is potential, my question remains legitimate.
So we're dealing. It's hard enough dealing with one cosmos at a time. It's hard enough writing metaphysics for this cosmos. In this cosmos, and coming face to face with the Holocaust, and my family was not immune from the Holocaust. Outside my nuclear family. This is the best construct